The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, all eyes on Pakistan, as there could be very important peace talks taking place tomorrow. A lot of people saying that the Iranian regime is playing games. I'm sure they're playing games. And I don't trust these people one iota. It's going to be a very important moment to see what happens, if they actually come up with something substantive or if this is just another delay. Meantime, the United States putting out the message that they will shoot to kill any sort of boat that leaves mines there in the Strait of Hormuz. They say nothing will block the Strait of Hormuz. Only the U.S. Navy. That's the only thing that's allowed. And you will not harm these ships and individuals from all other countries that are trying to do free and fair trade. They're also trying to squeeze Iran. They're going after these shadow fleets, these boats that are bringing oil, maybe not officially to Iran or from Iran, but covertly. A lot of them are Russian, and they're certainly going after them as well. Meantime, here is Pete Hegseth. You got to hear him because he was talking to reporters today, and he said this mission has been focused, it has been clear, and President Trump, he says, has been brilliant.
Well, good morning. Unlike the endless wars of the past that dragged on for years and for decades with little to show for it, Operation Epic Fury has delivered a decisive military results in just weeks. Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, as the president has pointed out, all took years, decades. Vague missions, shifting sands, little to show for it. Operation Epic Fury has been laser focused from the very start, as I've said to all of you. Clear mission objectives, and ultimately Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. It's a bold and dangerous mission, a gift to the world, historic, courtesy of a bold and historic president.
And President Trump certainly has had the cojones, a lot different than some of these other wimpy presidents that we have had in the past. The other big story everybody's talking about is Zoran Mandani, the mayor of New York, going after Ken Griffin, of course, big hedge fund executive, but also today, I contend, leaving schools unprotected. And he's doing this because he loves those student protests, especially I call them the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protests. He loves those. He loves the anti-ICE protests. He would not want to do anything to hurt those protests, God forbid. But here is Zoran Mandani. He decides to veto a bill which would have created a buffer zone around schools for protests, because he says he's worried it's going to stifle demonstrations against ICE or in support of Palestinian rights. Remember when so many Jewish students felt threatened on college campuses? Well, he thinks, I guess, that's okay and keep it coming. So here is New York City Councilwoman. This is Latina Brown. She's an independent, and she was furious when she was listening to this and talking about especially the educational bill, the school buffer zone. Listen to this.
Hey guys, this is Latina, your favorite community advocate. So Mayor Zoran Mandani wants to veto a bill regarding protests outside of schools and universities. It's like a buffer, right? This was introduced originally by City Council, which it passed, and it went to Mayor Mandani's desk for his approval, his signature. Now he wants to veto that bill. You know what? More and more, this guy is showing you all who he really is. Okay, he's a racist ass prick. Now, this is about him and his radical buddies, aka Linda Sarsour and the DSA. They want to harass Jewish students. Okay, they want to make their lives uncomfortable. And it's so obvious what's happening. And yet the governor sits quietly while this is taking place. Now, Speaker Menon, I hope that you would say something about it. I hope that you would stand your ground and challenge the mayor on this. But this is a serious concern. And if I'm not mistaken, a Christian church, was recently burnt down in Mayor Mandani's former assembly district. There's only one Christian church in that area where there's a bunch of mosques surrounded in that area. Now, I would urge the feds to start looking into that, because let me tell you something. I talk to people, and people contact me and tell me everything. I'm talking about people from his inner circle. They share things with me. There is a civil war brewing. It is brewing and waiting to happen. And these people are not here to assimilate with us. They're here to cause disorder, division, and chaos. They come here into this country to do nothing but stoke fear. And they're like a bunch of bullies. These are not people who are trying to live peacefully with other fellow Americans. And this is wrong. And this is all happening under Mayor Mandani and under the Democratic Party leadership. The Democrats will not protect the Jewish community, and they will not protect Black Americans, whites, Asians, Italians, Hispanics, you name it. They have now embraced a new party, which is the Socialist Communist Party, and they have a new voting bloc, which is the radical Islamic groups. And it's really sad because so many Americans have voted Democrat all their life. Let's keep it real. In the blue states and blue cities, you all have voted Democrat. And where has that gotten you all? You've been robbed. They create, your money has been laundered. They're stealing from us. They're disrespecting us. I'm no longer a Democrat. I'm happy about that. But Mayor Mandani, go fuck yourself.
Go blank yourself. You heard it there. Wow. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And this is the Rita Cosby Show. Wow. Things are getting awfully heated there. That is for sure. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey on line 3. Go ahead, Sandra.
Wow, I really like listening to her, Rita.
Yeah, me too. I was going to say, she has got she's a whippersnapper. She's got fire in the belly, and she's an independent there in the New York City Council. And obviously, wow, she's had it up to here with Mayor Mandani. You can hear her, and she said people talk, and they're telling her, that they don't want to assimilate. The whole plan is to take over. I mean, that's wild. This is getting interesting. I will say, I find the fact that he actually decided to veto his first bill, it shows that he wants these protests. He wants the disruption to go through. He thinks it's fine to be harassing. He didn't think there was a problem necessarily with any of those protests. That many people, I think anybody who appreciates respecting others of different beliefs and different faiths would have found them reprehensible. I mean, bottom line, Jewish students felt completely unsafe at their schools. They felt threatened. They felt attacked. There were so many problems. And boy, it sounds like he doesn't want to do anything to change that. He thinks that's just fine. Right, Sandra?
Oh, that's exactly how he feels. He likes it this way, and he's not going to do anything, and he's going to keep it this way. So,
and guess what? Guess what? The weather's getting nicer, and I hate to say that, but that's when the protests start happening, because the weather gets nicer. Sometimes the students are out of school, they got nothing to do, or somebody's paying them, I believe. When you look at all these things, first of all, the federal government needs to find out, Sandra, who is paying these people, and why are they not being held accountable? John and I always say somebody's got to go to jail. And how come all these people that have the signs, or they show up and they're well financed and they all have Xerox signs, same messaging, same this, same that, flown in some cases. It's the same protesters in different cities. It's like protester of the day club, And why are they not going after the people that are funding these? Clearly, Mandani's not going to try to help that, but the DOJ, Trump's DOJ should.
Yeah, why aren't we doing that, Rita? I wonder. But I wanted to say one thing about the war that's going on. I'm becoming a little pessimistic, Rita. I'm beginning to think those Iranian people, death is not foreign to them, and I'm almost beginning to think they rather lose than give in to the United States. They rather not. I think they rather lose and give it all up and see everyone die than give in and cooperate and make peace. I'm beginning to think death is not foreign to them. That's something they're not afraid of. So I almost feel like they rather give it all up rather than cooperate with the United States. That's what I'm beginning to think. I'm almost pessimistic a little bit.
I think you're right in some regard that I think there's a lot of fanatics that are in the group. But I think clearly what President Trump is hoping for is that they're not all fanatics and that maybe there's some more, logical or common sense, if that word is even possible with Iranians, with the leadership there. If they can find somebody who, for their own survival reason, and it may take a few layers down, or maybe, the grip of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, is like unleashed. The grip is loosened, and maybe they can go after enough of the generals there. I think those are the hardened ones. And I think you're right in the sense, Sandra, that there are some of them that will die for the cause, like the kamikaze pilots in Pearl Harbor, like that's how that's, in their mind, that's an honor if it is, possible.
That's what I'm afraid of. I hope that's not going to be the case.
I think there's some that are like that. And I think it's going to take a few layers or find the ones that are not. And maybe in the leadership structure, if you can find a few that are not, keep them alive and have them, get rid of the bad guys for their own survival. Who knows? Maybe it's possible, or they just have to obliterate, so many of these locations and really pound the heck out of them and maybe make Cargill and some of these other places big balls of fire. It may just come to that, Sandra, because these people, like you just said, they are fanatics. And that's what's really, really scary about them. That's a great point, Sandra. Thank you very much. It's always good to hear from you. Let's go to Max in Manhattan on line 4. Go ahead.
Rita, thank you for taking my call. If this is really a threat with fighting the Persians or Iranians overseas, fine. But then there must be some sort of, if we're fighting them because they're funding, then we have to look at where they're funding to. They're funding here to Dearborn, Michigan. They're funding here to Plano, Texas. By the way, we have 230 mosques there. They're funding in England.
By the way, that's amazing, Max? You said 230 mosques. I knew there were a lot, but that's a lot. Wow.
Yes, and there's a thing called NAIT, North American Islamic Trust. These guys fund 90% of the mosques that go out in the U.S. Last thing, Bridget Gabrielle.
Yep, Gabriel. Bridget Gabriel. I know Bridget.
Yes. Thank you, Rita.
What do you get her on? Right? Is that your point? Get her on because she knows her stuff. She does. Who's been really impressive, Max? You talk about her, and also Zuhdi Jasser is another one who's been very outspoken. And for that reason, I think really just an impressive, interesting guy. And you talked about Dearborn. I keep thinking, Max, about these crazy people. They are like embracing the likes of a guy named Hassan Piker. And I want to play.
Rita, not only that, Rita, but in Dearborn, Michigan, I forget exactly what date, but there were 3 Muslim women that were decapitated, and the Dearborn, Michigan police department is covering up for it. There were 3 of them were decapitated.
I remember hearing a story about that, and also remember the pastor.
Carl Hisby reported on it.
What about the pastor? Remember the pastor there who spoke?
Yes.
And he said, I don't think we should have a street named after somebody in Hezbollah. And then the Dearborn mayor told him, the pastor, he was not welcome. That's a frightening. Max, great points. I think we should take a cue from Florida, where Florida just had some legislation that DeSantis passed, where essentially saying that American law is what rules the day, not Sharia law. And maybe that message needs to get to Dearborn, Michigan. 1-800-848-9222. Everybody, we'll come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, it is time to unchain the Iranian people. They are waiting. Can you imagine? I'm wondering always, what are they thinking over there? These heroic people that have been rising up, and many of them just brutally assassinated by the regime, and waiting now because remember, President Trump over a month ago said, we'll give you the sign when we're ready for you to rise up and take back your country. And let's pray that happens soon, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Mark in New Jersey, line 5. Go ahead, Mark, your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. How are you?
Good. What do you think?
I just wanted to make a point. I wanted to make a point first. Two things. The conservative move and Republican, basically for generations have been stable in, hitting a target and being like what Jesus said, build your house on a rock, not on sand. And the Democrats and the Republicans years ago used to be similar. And this is the whole division, what's happening in our democratic society is the Republicans has always been pretty much steady on, conservative values.
So what's your point?
The left has gone, I'm just saying the left has gone totally crazy. That's why we have this division. It's just been absurd.
It has. And what's been really troubling, Mark, is the rhetoric coming from the Democratic side. I've never seen this. And you guys, I've covered politics, as you guys know, for a long time. And you'd see division and obviously different views. But I never felt that I would see even a sitting senator or member of Congress from the other side try to undermine the president, because by doing that right now, they're undermining America and the U.S. military.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the Recreational Activity Vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
Rita Cosby is on.
We go back to some good oldies here on the Rita Cosby Show. Well, speaking of something that doesn't age well, is this comment from Hassan Piker. We were talking about some of these crazy comments coming out of Dearborn, Michigan tonight. And it's like, is that like another world? It truly is. You've got what is going on in the water in Dearborn. You got the mayor there saying crazy things, and you definitely have Hassan Piker, who is a buddy of Zoran Mandani. He's also campaigned with a number of other members of Congress, including Senator Chris Murphy, who was over in Europe not too long ago bashing Trump. And what is it that they're embracing this guy who has said some of the most vile things against America? Who could forget this one that he said about 9/11?
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it. Like, we totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy we did. We did.
That's amazing. And anybody who's hanging around a guy like that, Zoran Mandani is embracing this guy. Are you kidding me? This is the kind of guy who loves those protests at schools like we talked about. So he's probably cheering tonight that Zoran Mandani vetoed a bill that would have had a buffer zone around schools. No, I guess he loves the crazy pro-Hamas protests. So here's another comment from Hassan Piker where he was praising Hamas over Israel.
So my question is, when you say Hamas is 1,000 times better, do you actually mean that? Or is that a rhetorical move or like a solidarity signal? Like what?
I mean, it's all of the above. I do mean it. I think it's a rhetorical move because it frustrates a lot of people. I've also said I'm a harm reduction voter. I'm a lesser evil voter, and therefore I would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time.
I'd vote for Hamas over Israel every single time. He also made some comments. Oh, the rapes on October 7th, that's not a big deal. Are you kidding me? What a disgusting human being. And so here is Hassan Piker just this week. Now, some of those comments were not that long ago, but this one's very fresh. This one, it's a New York Times. They did a brand new podcast. And the podcaster is a New York Times gal who had him and another individual. And they asked about Luigi Mangione. Now, this is the guy who's accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in broad daylight, remember, outside the Hilton in New York. You see it on the videotape. He had his, manifesto, if you will, slamming the healthcare industry. And this guy is praising Luigi Mangione, like as if almost seems to justify why he did this horrific killing. This is, again, Hassan Piker, Zoran Mandani's friend, and this is just this week.
Engels wrote about the concept of social murder. And Brian Thompson, as the United Healthcare CEO, was engaging in a tremendous amount of social murder, the systematized forms of violence, the structural violence of poverty, the for-profit paywalled system of healthcare in this country. And the consequences of that are tremendous amounts of pain, tremendous amounts of violence, tremendous amounts of deaths. And that was a fascinating story for me because Americans are very draconian about crime and punishment. They're very black and white on this issue. And yet, because of the pervasive pain that the private healthcare system had created for the average American, I saw so many people immediately understand why this death had taken place.
Why this death had taken place. People understood why this death had taken place. There's no understanding for a brutal murder, but that's the mindset. And he's quoting Marxism, too, along the way. And here is Laura Trump, really shocked that the New York Times would even pay this guy 1 second of time. Take a listen.
It is a little shocking that the New York Times podcast would give this guy a platform, I think, as you alluded to earlier. But what is even maybe more shocking, Harris, is that the left has purposely kind of pushed this guy up and made him a bit of a mouthpiece for themselves. The Democrats have known for a long time who this guy was, an effort to try and reach out to a younger generation of Americans who's actually leaving the Democrat Party. A lot of those folks shifted right in the 2024 election. They think that this might bring people in, and they're happy to allow him to go out there and parrot their talking points and say really extreme, really crazy things like that, and that should scare everybody.
Yeah, it should scare everybody that they're trying to, normalize this guy? Sadly, there are more and more people like this guy, and the rhetoric seems more and more like this guy. How about the guy who's running for Senate in Michigan, this Abdul El Sayed? He is a U.S. Senate candidate in Michigan, and he's saying the craziest things. Meanwhile, we're at war with Iran. And then you've got these crazies at home. You wonder what they think of the war. Are they undermining President Trump at every turn? Why are they in this country? Well, that's a question that Congressman Chip Roy has. And you have to hear, he is introducing what he's called the Mandani Act. And he says the goal is to combat Islamization in our country, on our soil, naming it after Zoran Mandani. Chip Roy, of course, is from Texas. And this is what he had to say. He talked with us earlier on Katz and Cosby. And here's a little bit with John Catsimatidis, great John, asking questions of Chip Roy, where he's explaining this act named after the mayor of New York.
I understand you're very upset with what's going on in New York, and you created a new Mandani bill?
Yeah, so I've got a bill called the Mandani Act that would basically say it would build on existing law that prevents people who are avowed Communist Party members or people that are spreading the Communist Party propaganda from being admitted into the United States. And if they are admitted and they later do it, it allows us to denaturalize and deport them. I'm saying we should do the same thing for Islamists. I'm saying we should do the same thing for Marxists and people affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party. We don't need to admit people into the United States, and in fact, we should not admit people into the United States. And in fact, we should remove people who are either here on green cards or have been naturalized, i.e. we gave them the gift of American citizenship. They are working to undermine Western civilization and to destroy our Judeo-Christian principles and our Western values. And that's what's happening. You have Islamists who say they want to wage jihad against the West. They want to take out Texas. They want to take out our country. So I want to get this legislation moving, but importantly, it was a message that we're not going to allow people to come in and target our way of life and just accept it. They don't get to do that. We're Americans, and we're built on a Judeo-Christian foundation and Western principles that have changed the world, and we're going to fight for them.
I believe that Governor DeSantis in Florida is trying to push through a bill that prohibits Sharia law, and that United States law is the primary law of the land.
Yeah, well, Governor DeSantis is one of the best leaders in our country. He's a fantastic governor, a good friend of mine. Governor DeSantis is going to, I think, deliver some good reforms down in Florida to try to stop the advancement of Sharia law, to push back on the Islamification of Florida in the same way I'm going to fight to stop the Islamification of Texas as Attorney General. That's why I'm running for Attorney General. By the way, anybody wants to support me, chiproy.com. Can I use all the help that we can get? But look, we got to have leaders like DeSantis saying, look, we're not going to do this. Sharia law is inconsistent with our values. You don't marry off 8-year-old little girls. You don't, say that women don't have the same rights as men. You don't allow, honor killings. You don't allow people to, basically transform our society into an Islamic state just because a handful of people were given the gift of American citizenship out of our goodwill, and now they're abusing it to undermine our way of life. We do not want to have London. We do not want to have Paris. We do not want to let that happen, and you cannot win a war that you do not acknowledge exists. They are at war with us, and we need to stop it.
Bravo to him for exposing what seems to be happening in a troubling trend in a lot of these blue cities, a lot of these blue states across America. How pervasive do you think it is? And clearly, they seem to be fighting basic principles, truth and nail. One of the things, again, is we're talking about with Zoran Mandani, this new bill saying, I guess there should be protests. He doesn't want to stifle the anti-ICE protests. He doesn't want to stifle the pro-Hamas protests. I guess just keep on coming, especially are we going to have another summer of love? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Dr. Dave in White Plains, New York on line 2. Go ahead, Dr. Dave. What do you think?
Hi, Rita. Thanks for taking a call, and nice talking to you again. Last time was about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. I'm glad that you're back. Thank you. Wonderful.
But I've lost track of what it was, but I'm up to 78, so I'm getting there. I want to make a point particularly about what Norman said about juvenilization of the White House press corps. But could I make a 2-second comment about cannabis regarding last night's program?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. The people who are stinking up the city are also polluting their brains with carbon monoxide. And that's probably far more potent than anything THC can do.
Are you now? I have a question. Fast. Are you a supporter of THC? Are you a supporter that you think? I'm worried about the slippery slope. That's what I'm worried.
Let me make a statement and I'll back it up on your X page. Look for a thing note on it.
All right, go ahead.
I would suggest this: if you took all of the accidents that were unavoidable involving alcohol, and you would replace those alcohol drinking people with people who knew how to use THC without carbon monoxide, you would probably have at least 80% fewer accidents. It is not nearly as strong as you're making it out to be. Yes, I've had experience with it. I was a nighttime ER MD, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. for 25 years. And I was at the Berkeley Free Clinic Counseling and part of founding Ann Arbor Drug Help before that and counseling there for a number of years. I'll put a thing on your X page.
All right, but hang on. Hold on one second, because I have a question for you on this. And obviously you have some medical background, so I appreciate that. But would you want someone high as a kite to get behind the wheel of a car?
It doesn't. THC does not make you high as a kite. That's the problem. And the new stuff is not grossly stronger either. Let me say this. Every year for at least 12 years, people attended in 30 to 40,000 the Michigan Pot Festival. I have a friend. I haven't been in Ann Arbor in 25 years.
Well, I think they're smoking it in Dearborn, that's for sure.
Well, no, because they're not. If they smoke it, they might actually think straighter, is what I would suggest. All these people attend this pot festival, spend a day smoking, and they all go drive home.
Whoa!
There's no police.
Get off the roadway there. Dave, come on.
No,
Dave, no, hang on. No. Dave, let me just say one thing. You're telling me they go to this festival and then, hey, everybody get behind the wheel and drive home. I mean,
as long as they're on one drug only, and that is THC, which is not a common thing. In the ER of 220,000 patients, I had one pure THC patient, a scared Sarah Lawrence girl, freshman, who by the time they wheeled her into a crazy panic ER on a stretcher, she was no longer high because the epinephrine in her and the scare took it away. It's the associated drugs. Every cannabis is on infinite number of tox screens, but there's always alcohol. There were quaaludes.
All right. Well, you just rested my point there. Okay. So here's my point with this, Dave, and I hear where you're saying from, and I'm look. You may have heard that if there are individuals in particular that have cancer or needs or particular, I understand why certain people will do this. But my hold on. I listen to you. Now you got to listen to me. My point is it is such a slippery slope because a lot of people who try, even with maybe the best of intentions and like you're saying, the pure and all that other stuff, they will take in, you open the door to that, you're going to open the door to other things. They're going to mix it with other things. They're not going to sit there and say, well, I'm only going to have pure this, pure that. It is a slippery slope, and that's where I'm concerned, Dave. That's where I'm extremely concerned.
I'm not so sure that is. The door is open either way. Most of the people want something stronger. Truthfully, that's why they smoke in large amounts, because smoke does produce carbon monoxide, and that makes them stoned. The funny thing with cannabis is do you get high or do you get stoned? Which one? There's two different things. People who are smart use a little vape thing. You take 3 or 4 puffs of a vape and you do not get carbon monoxide. I'll tell you this.
By the way, this is interesting, Dave. This is new terrain. Dave, you have 30 seconds. Go ahead.
All right. Well, no, I'd like to bring up my thing on the juvenilization of the.
Well, if you can say it in 30 seconds, you got it.
Okay. Right after Obama left and Trump was in, what's his name? Oh God, I'm blanking on the name.
All right, Dave. Here's what you got to do, because you got a long soliloquy on your plate. All right. First of all, it's interesting. I'm open to always hearing things. My position, and you call me on Monday. We're going to continue this because I feel like it's a dangerous, slippery slope. I would never have people at a convention say, hey, get in your cars and drive home. And by the way, why don't you have some booze and some speed and cocaine while you're at it? That's what's going to happen, Dave. And it's going to inspire young people, I believe, to take more of it. That's why I'm concerned. I don't like opening up drugs to people. I think it makes it too accessible. If you walk down the street, you're from White Plains. If you walk down, probably in White Plains too, but certainly in Manhattan, you get high just walking down the street. And a lot of them look like they're on a lot more than just THC. And that's why it concerns me. I don't want to make stuff more accessible than it already is. But Dave, call back on Monday, because this is an interesting discussion. And I always like hearing people's background. And you've got a medical background, so it's interesting. We can all learn from it. So call back on Monday. Definitely very interesting. Now, boy, I wish I could get high right now after that call. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, here is Support Our Heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And everybody, wow. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story coming from Howell, Michigan, where one of these individuals was named as the 2026 Veteran and Auxiliary Member of the Year. His name is Papa Don Lang. He's 81 years old. He's a U.S. Army veteran whose decade of service included Vietnam intelligence operations, cryptography, instruction at the National Cryptology School, and high-level analysis and satellite imagery in Europe. Wow, some very top-notch secret stuff. When he was asked at the award ceremony there in Michigan, what makes a great success in the military and in life, he said, this team isn't about it. There is no it in this team. That is how life is, that you support each other. And that's what I did in the military. And he thanked everybody for the incredible honor. What a powerful story and beautiful reminder of how everybody has each other's back there in the military. And that's what it's all about. And everybody help America to never, ever forget. Donate $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They do so much good, led by their great Frank Siller, honoring his brother, Stephen Siller. Be sure to check him out. You can make a huge difference in heroes' lives. T2T.org. It's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
Choice Hotels gets you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And everybody, let's continue real quick with your calls. Nick in Virginia on line 3. Nick, your thoughts tonight?
Rita, I have a report for you. On Monday, the Virginia Supreme Court are going to hear arguments in the redistricting case that the Democrats have thrust upon us in Virginia.
Oh, that's big. Yep.
And it looks very good. There are a lot of procedural problems with the whole thing. In order to change the
redistricting, right?
Well, they have to change the Constitution first to do the redistricting, and there wasn't enough time between elections to do it. So they went against all the procedural steps that they needed to take.
Yep, that's a good point. You're right. So you're right. And the Virginia Supreme Court may be a lot more sympathetic and understand all that. That's a biggie. Let's see what happens Monday. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?